7, right? 7 o'clock?
Yeah, because you were on that side for the last one. Like nice.
So it's like our normal. Hey guys, Andy back here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you Battle Report +1. The first one was a prologue, so I don't know whether this counts as the first one or the second one, but that's neither here nor there.
Did we name it 0 or 1 or?
Well, you edited it. What did you name it?
I edited it. I'll just insert here just a robot voice saying the actual number. Of
Per. That makes sense.
Battle report.
It's the second one. Idiots.
Oh yes, I remember it distinctly now.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So that battle report was very cool. A steep learning curve for us. We had the forces of Krieg led by Severina Rain defending a primary objective on the world MH365 against the heretical Night Lord faction led by a warpsmith. In the end, should I say in the end in case people haven't watched it?
Okay, spoiler warning. Here is your spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the previous one, skip ahead to this timestamp so you don't miss out, and also go back and check the previous one.
Yeah, link for that battle report is here. So yeah, the spoiler alert is Severina Rain managed to save the day and secure the planet for now. Since then, more forces have arrived on MH365 seeking refuge from the Cicatrix Maledictum. So that's one of the battles we're going to play through today is a recon mission from
the Warhammer 40k rulebooks Crusade mission pack. So we're going to be playing Recon Patrol Mission 4 in the Crusade missions.
So we have that all set up, ready to rock and roll. Before we get started, I just want to thank Deep Cut Studios for providing the mat for today's game, and Urban Mats for supplying the scenery. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and let's get into deployment. Okay guys, so we have set up the battlefield, objectives are placed, table quarters have been drawn, and the units for both armies have been deployed. Now in this scenario, half of your force must be set up in reserve, up to 75% if you choose to, so a bunch of my army has been left off table. So what I've started with is, I have a squad of eliminators holding the top of this building who are hopefully going to get some nice sniper shots across the plaza and take down some Chaos Space Marines. I have a unit of 5 intercessors supported by the Gravis Captain Belloc. And then I've got a Redemptor Dreadnought on the left hand side here. So my plan is to move these guys up and try and secure some objectives early on, if not to claim points for myself, but just to make sure that my opponent doesn't get to claim some points back on me for having more than I do. And yeah, I'm hoping to get in some strategic reserves early. You get to bring them on from the start of the game, but on turn 1 and 2 you must roll off, and if you get a 4+, you're allowed to bring them on. Otherwise, they get shoved in the next turn. So wish me luck on those rolls, guys.
Okay, so the Iron Warriors have set themselves up. We're ready to go. Got our teeth stuck into some successor Imperial fists. We're well used to butchering the yellow boys, so these upstarts shouldn't be too much of a trouble. So I've started off by claiming the center ground. So I have my squad here, the Warsmith's Hounds, a squad of Khorne Berserkers.
Why aren't we
led
killing
by
it?
the captain of the army here, Atropos, the Spear of Olympus.
I am here to lead
Backed
you.
up by the clanking Hellbrute, one of the former Warsmiths of the Grand Company. So I'm hoping his las cannons and missile launcher will be able to start picking off some of the executioners at range. Over here then I have a second squad set up ready to claim this objective, squad of just standard Marines. They've got a kind of a mixed loadout, some range stuff, some close combat stuff, so I can get them to either seize ground, hold objectives, or if I need to, I can get them stuck into the teeth of the enemy guns.
Yes!
Of course, I've then left the rest of my army off the board, so hopefully I'll be able to bring them in quite quickly and use the weight of numbers to really put the hurt on those executioners. So let's see how the first turn goes.
So for this game, it will be orange Space Marine dice for me and black Chaos dice for Dave. So every roll you see with each colored dice will be the other player. So rolling off for turn 1. And in typical dice roll fashion, it's a draw.
Let's try that again. I mean, you couldn't make that up, could you?
No, let's try it one more time. Are you serious? What are the odds? Way, glorious 2. Never thought I'd be so happy to see it. Okay, so start on my turn 1. I have nothing to do in my command phase, so I'm just going to try and move forward and secure some objectives quickly and efficiently, and then get some firepower downrange in my shooting phase. So let's see how it pans out. Okay, so I'm going to start moving my guys up through the center of the board. So I'm going to start with my squad of intercessors, 5-man strong. I have to remember as well not to feel bullied by the numbers of the Chaos Space Marines, as I have twice the amount of wounds as they do, so I basically count as 10 Chaos Space Marines, as a normal Imperial Fist does compared to an Iron Warrior.
Take me into battle.
Avoid detection.
Strategic point identified.
Okay, so at the end of my movement phase, I'm going to try and bring on my strategic reserves. On turns 1 and 2, I require a 4+ to do that, and what I'm going to try and bring on is my Impulsors, with 5-man Assault Intercessor squads. So I've got 2 of those units. I'm going to roll 2 dice and see what happens. I managed to get one of the Impulsors in with the 5-man squad. So let's get that onto the table and get it cracking. Okay, so I'm going to begin my shooting phase with an opening salvo from my Eliminators, and they will be firing the Hyper Fang rounds, which have blast, which means they get 3 shots apiece when I target the squad of Khorne Berserkers coming across the table, which scare me to no end, so I want to get as much damage in them as possible. So they're actually 2s to hit.
Our aim is true.
So there are hits, and the Hyper Fang rounds are strength 5, Khorne Berserkers are toughness 4, so there'll be 3s. So 2 more get taken out, but 5 do find their mark. They have no AP and do 1 damage, so Dave will get standard power armored saves against those wounds.
Alright, let's see how that armor holds up. Yeah, it's not too bad, only 2 have dropped so far.
Okay, so now the Impulsor that has come down the street has turned its target to the clanking, belching Hellbrute on the other side of the table. So it's going to open fire with its plethora of small arms and see if it can do any serious damage to that. So it's going to start with its Iron Hail Sky Talon Array with its 8 shots. It has missed 3 times. It is only strength 4, and the Hellbrute is toughness 8, so I think it's 6s, isn't it? Yep. So 6s to do any wounds, and absolutely none. Gonna jump over to the 2 Stormbolters. Same thing again, they're gonna require 6s to do any. They managed to score 2 6s, which I will take. And then the last, but by no means least, is the Heavy Stubber on top, which is 4 shots. Can I get that same kind of roll for wounds? No. So 2 wounds on the Hellbrute, for Dave 6 against him.
Okay, let's see how that Hellbird armor holds up.
And he doesn't care.
Totally fine.
And the squad of intercessors is going to fire their bolt rifles down across the crashed and ruined city, and once again try and take a couple more of those current berserkers down. So, firing 3s. Fortunately, these guys are fresh off Belisarius Call's Forge, and 2 of them do miss. Can they do any damage? They do manage to cause 1 wound on the Khorne Berserkers, which I have a feeling won't do very much damage.
Let's have a look.
And then I remember Dave's rolling and I feel much better.
I don't know, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point.
Okay, so last but by no means least, the Redemptor Dreadnought is going to open up with its heavy onslaught cannon across into the other squad of Chaos Space Marines hunkered down on his objective. So let's see what we can do with that. It is indeed strength. Let me just double check for you guys. Strength 6, so it's going to require 3s to hurt the Chaos Space Marines. That was quite a nice roll. So 6 wounds minus 1 onto the Chaos Space Marine squad.
Okay, let's see how they hold up in the ruins. Not too bad, only 2 have been popped by that, and the rest of the squad.
It's minus 1, I think the 3 gets you.
Oh, so it is. I'm used to seeing my old power armor being 3s. So I've lost 3 Iron Warriors. It's okay, there's plenty more where that came from.
Damnation! Where is our support?
Okay, that would normally bring me into my assault phase, but I have no assaults to make. Everything is too far away, so I'll actually bring an end to my first turn. I managed to bring on a squad from reserves, which claimed an objective, which was extremely helpful. I've managed to clear off, I think, 6 or 7 power armored foes from the enemy army, so I would consider that a successful turn 1. I hold 2 objectives, so I score 10 victory points at the end of turn 1.
After the first Imperial turn, took a little bit of a mauling there. I have lost a fair few bodies already, which isn't ideal. But I think now, my turn 1, the goal is going to be secure the objectives that I can, sweep one of the quarters here to gain a couple of extra victory points and just secure the area for it. And then a lot of this is going to depend on how much of my forces I can bring in from reserves. I've got a few things that might be able to drop behind the enemy lines and make Andy sweat a little bit, but it's all going to depend on those key dice rolls. First things first, let's try and get closer to those lines and really show what a Khorne Berserker can do when he comes face to face with an Imperial Fist. So nothing to do in my command phase, so I'm going to start off in the movement phase. So first things first, I'm going to have my Khorne Berserkers start doing what they do best and sprinting straight for the Imperial lines. And of course, Atropos is going to follow up, while the Hellbrute, somewhat incensed that the Imperials had the gall to try and fire and besmirch his honourable carapace, is going to show them what a real warsmith with real heavy guns can do. And then over here, I'm going to have this squad just move up slightly and secure this objective while also sweeping this quarter of the table. So if they're alive by the end of the turn, it means that they'll have managed to secure this particular table quarter for me, and that'll give me an extra couple of victory points. Now to roll for the reinforcements. So I'm going to start off by trying to bring in my outflanking squad in the Rhino to hopefully get some fast responses. No, unfortunately they're going to still be a little while out. Obviously the engine wasn't fully gassed up. You know, petrol prices these days, I can understand that. Next we'll move on to the Obliterator, seeing if it can deep strike from orbit, which it does, which is going to be very useful. And finally, the one I'm really excited to get on the table, the Beast of Cartha, the Massive Defiler. And of course, Chaos approves.
And now Dave deploys his most prized miniature of his entire Iron Warriors collection. Now that is a Defiler. It's gonna be a real shame when I blow it up, but needs must.
Okay, so we're going to start off the shooting phase now with the Hellbrute. So it's strode forward out of the ruins and out of the smoke, and now it's going to aim to try and do some serious damage cracking open one of the Imperial fists tanks. So I'll start off with the 2 shots from the las cannons. So hitting on 2, thankfully, because my lord is nearby, I get to re-roll the 1s, which means we have 2 hits on the impulsor. Unfortunately, only one of them has managed to wound the machine, so it's -3 to its armor save.
That's not a save.
And it does D6 damage.
Ooh.
Delightful.
It's lucky 2 on 1 all over again. And this is why all Space Marine tanks should be pickup trucks. Somewhere to put your wound counter. Delightful.
Of course, the Hellbrute has to have the last word, and he's going to fire off a crack missile from his missile launcher arm, which does manage to hit. Unfortunately, doesn't manage to wound, so the impulsor will live till the next turn at least. Okay, so now the Chaos Space Marine squad is going to return fire across at the intercessors. So we've got 3 bolt round shots fired through the ruined city, all 3 of which find their mark, and one of them manages to do a wound.
Can I bring down an intercessor? Oh, normally if it was a Chaos Space Marine I would indeed, but no, because we've got 2 wounds each because we're better than you.
Yeah, but you say better than us, but do you have a Reaper autocannon being lugged along by the same squad?
No.
I don't think so. So let's see what that can do. So I got a bit too cocky there. So one of the shots goes wild, but the second one does manage to wound, and that's going to do -1 to your armor save as well.
Dun dun dun. Safe.
Okay, and now, for the first time ever, because I've never actually put this model on a battlefield, we're going to see what an obliterator can do when it deep strikes behind enemy lines. So it readies the flesh metal guns and it's going to target the squad of intercessors in front of it. So I have to roll 3d3 to determine how powerful these guns are going to be. So the first,
None can stand against me.
d3, so 2 plus 6, so they're going to be strength 8 shots at -1 AP, and each shot doing 3 damage.
Oh no.
And these guys fire 6 shots, so hitting on 3s, not ideal. 3 shots find their mark, but as it's going to be strength 8, it's going to be wounding on 2s, and that is 2 wounds at -1, each doing 3 damage apiece.
My glorious new Belisarius Call armor has managed to save the day, but I was very nervous at that one particular moment.
Okay, so now over to the Defiler, the Beast of Cartha. It's going to unleash all of its guns directly at the tank that's just come in for the Imperial Fists. I need to start calling them Executioners. They're not Imperial Fists. They don't deserve to be called Imperial Fists. We're going to crack that open and see what damage we can do to it. So first off, we've got the Battle Cannon shot. So only fires 1 shot, but we'll see if the shot is on target. Hits on 4s, which it does, and does actually do some damage to the machine. Maybe check how much of a minus it's going to do to its armor.
I'm nervous, guys. My impulsor only has 5 wounds remaining. I literally finished painting this, if you can call it model painted, at about 1 o'clock last night. So it would be a shame if it died within 12 hours of it being finished.
So it's a -2 AP to the impulsor.
Okay, so it goes to a 5-up save, which I fail.
Okay, and that does D3 damage to it from that shell. So
Solid.
3 more wounds.
Once again, the pickup truck coming in handy here.
And then hopefully we'll be able to finish it off with the last 4 shots from the Reaper autocannon. So again, hitting on 4s.
Oh geez.
All shots find their mark. Unfortunately, not enough. What toughness is an impulsor?
7.
Okay, so 4 is enough to wound it, but it's only going to be -1 and 1 damage.
Well, it still managed to find its thing and do 1 more clink of damage to it. That means that the impulsor has been brought down to 1 wound.
So now, the literal last roll of the dice. Let's see if the Khorne Berserkers can make their way across the plaza and get to grips with the impulsor. So,
Oh no.
So 10-inch charge, I think that's going to be enough.
That is exactly what he needs.
Absolutely. So the Berserkers are going to run charging and bellowing at the top of their lungs.
You want that worthless trinket?
So chain axes revving and the power axe of the champion raised high. The Berserkers lance into the side of the, or into the front rather, of the impulsor. I'm going to see if they can crack it open to get at the juicy executioners inside. So hitting on 3s. That's a lot of hits. And because on the charge and with their chain axes, the Khorne Berserkers are mighty strength 7. So 4s are going to be enough to do a wound to the machine. That's not too bad. We've managed to inflict 6 wounds on the Impulsor. Is that enough to take it out of the sky?
I imagine it probably is. Yes. Damn it. Does the Impulsor explode? It does not. So we're just going to disembark those guys inside and then continue on. My squad of assault intercessors have disembarked from the destroyed Impulsor. Let's see if they've all made it out safe and sound or if any of them are going to die. That is not what I wanted to see. 2 more brave Marines have died to the Khorne Berserker charge. I thought he was done. I thought destroying the Impulsor and killing 2 of my guys was enough for him. He's just informed me that Khorne Berserkers can pile in and charge and fight again. So...
Oh no! Anyway.
Okay, so now they've got the scent of blood in their nostrils, and the Khorne Berserkers want more. So they pile into the remaining executioners as they try and extract themselves from the wreck of their former transport. We're going to see now if they can finish off the job and take them out of the fight. So again, not as good as the first time, unfortunately, so they're hitting on 3s. Let's take those ones out there. Now, because of their hateful assault rule, any 6s count as 2 hits, which is good for me. Bad for the executioners, of course. And rolling to wound.
Blood for the blood god!
Extra strength of the chain axes. They're going to be wounding the intercessors on 3s. So that is a grand total of 8 wounds at -1 to the executioner's armor save.
Okay, my 8 dice. Let's see if I can save these guys. I'll be taking 4 up saves now, so I take a wound. I'll take it. So miraculously, 3 of the assault intercessors have survived, so they are going to strike back at the Khorne Berserkers, requiring 3s to hit, 4s to wound. I'll take that, causing 5 wounds at -1 on the Khorne Berserkers. I'll teach you for hitting my pickup truck.
None shall stop
I
us.
drop 2 of you.
You do indeed. So that wasn't too bad of a turn. We've managed to crack open one of the Imperial Fisted Vehicles, cut down some of the remaining bodies of executioners there, and I've managed to secure 2 objectives in the center and brought on 2 of my reserve units. So pretty happy with how that first turn has gone. We've now got 10 points. It's all currently tied up. We both have 2 objectives apiece, but while both of mine are secured, there's now a bloody fight in the center for one of Andy's objectives. Welcome back.
Okay, so at the beginning of my turn 2, I have Khorne Berserkers in my lines. Now, be it only 3 of them remaining, we're going to have to deal with those guys and re-secure my objectives. Then hopefully I'm going to try and bring on the rest of my reserves to make a real dent in his lines. I can see how I can basically deal with a couple of different bits and pieces of his army. The Defiler, on the other hand, is scaring the bejesus out of me. I don't really know about the firepower to bring that boy down, but we are going to make the most of it. So I'm going to begin my movement phase now and rearrange some stuff. So yeah, let's see what we can do. So I'm going to bring my Redemptor Dreadnought actually backwards because I'm going to try and deal with this Obliterator here. I was originally going to bring my Warlord back, but I think he's needed to deal with the Khorne Berserkers. So let's start with the Redemptor Dreadnought, moving his 6 inches back.
Identifying
Start
targets.
open fire on these and maybe even charge if needs be. The squad of intercessors in the center, I'm just going to shunt them even to the left to make room for the boss to come in and show what a real Space Marine can do. Okay, now it's time to bring on my strategic reserves. I have 4 units, but 3 rolls because one of them is inside of transport, to see if I can bring them in successfully. So I'm going to start with the second Impulsor, which I do not manage to get on, the Reaver Squadron, which I do manage to get on, and the Suppressor unit, which I do not manage to get on. So I'll bring those Reavers on now and then come back to you.
Infiltrating enemy territory.
So I'm once again going to open up the shooting phase with the squad of eliminators, although these guys have now loaded in the dreaded mortis rounds and have taken aim on the boss of the Iron Warriors Legion, as his Khorne Berserkers have abandoned him to seek glory and left him somewhat undefended. So it's going to be 2s to hit. Unfortunately, one of them goes wild and 2 of them do in fact hit. The mortis rounds are strength 5. Are you strength 4 or 5? Or toughness 4 or 5?
Toughness 4.
So 3s to do some damage. I do in fact wound with 2 of those, and it does -2 damage.
Okay, so his armor plate is going to go to a 4-up save. Both of which he fails, which means he's going to take 4 wounds, leaving him with only 2 remaining.
You weaklings!
Okay, now on to the Redemptor Dreadnought, who's going to move back into position and open up with his onslaught cannons at the Obliterator. Just going to start with the heavy onslaught cannons first. 5 times unfortunately, but still quite a decent number of hits, requiring 3s to hurt the Obliterator. Ooh, that was particularly terrible, only causing 2 wounds, which do a -1 damage to the Obliterator.
Okay, let's see how the Obliterator's Demon Shell holds up. Totally fine, thanks to his exoskeleton.
And then we're going to go on to the standard onslaught cannon. This one is 8 shots. Oh my god, this Dreadnought is drunk today. 6 misses, 2 hits, which neither of whom wound.
Yes.
Not a good start. Let's hope he gets to grips within the combat phase and just tears him in half. Okay, so the last bit of shooting phase for me this turn, I believe, is the 5 intercessors that are going to fire their bolt rifles across the plaza at the Chaos Space Marines. Once again, my guys seem to not have their eye in today. And they don't have anything in today, apparently. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
That's fine, the Dave dice curse is just spreading.
Can it not spread though, or? No. Okay, the Reaver squad is going to open fire with its weapons at the back of this Chaos Space Marine squad. So I'm going to start with the bolt carbines to start with. We get 3 hits and 2 wounds. I will take that. And then their special issue bolt pistols. 2 hits. These ones are -2, so I really do hope that these ones wound. And of course, because I said it, they did not. So 2 normal saves on your Chaos Space Marines.
One of them goes through, another power armored son of Pedrabo is taken from the field of battle.
Why aren't we killing yet?
Now it's time for the Executioners to get to grips with melee combat. Yeah, let's hope that it goes well as opposed to the shooting phase I just had. So we're going to start with the beastly commander is going to make his charge in and try and finish off those Khorne Berserkers. So 2d6 for the dice roll means with ease he comes around and smashes into the back of those Khorne Berserkers. Happy with that. Next we're going to move on to the Redemptor Dreadnought, trying to make it into the Obliterator. So let's check his charge distance first, and with a mighty 10 he is more than capable of getting to grips with this child's toy compared to him, and he will tear it in half.
I shall end you.
Now that's the same kind of roll that I'm going to need over here for the Reavers. Can they make this long distance charge? An 8 will not be enough. I had to stay 9 inches away during the deployment phase, so unfortunately that means that the defiler may have a snack next turn. Okay, so the Gravis Captain, wielding the Teeth of Terra in one hand and a Power Fist in the other, is going to now attempt to make mincemeat of the remaining Khorne Berserkers. So I'm going to start with the Power Fists with 5 attacks, hitting on 2s. Fortunately, 2 of them miss, but I'm still confident. Bringing his strength up to 8, meaning 2s. That is 3 Power Fist wounds, which does -3 to his armor save, which will require 6 sub-saves to keep any of these guys in the fight. 1 of them stays, 2 of them are now dead, and the Teeth of Terra comes in, hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, 1 left, which brings it to -2 damage. So he does manage to tear the head off the last Khorne Berserker, showing his troopers why not to be scared of these Iron Warriors.
For terror!
And now the Redemptor Dreadnought, coming in to clear his own back lines, has made contact with the Obliterator. 4 attacks, 2 of which have hit, strength 14, so 2s to wound the Obliterator. 2 wounds at -3. I don't know what kind of save an Obliterator has, but I don't know whether it's going to be helpful for him here.
So he's got a 2+ save because of his heavy armor, so -3 would go to a 5+ save. So let's see if we can keep him in the fight. Unfortunately not, both ones go through. How much damage?
2d3 plus 3, so you're going to take 6 plus d6 wounds basically.
Yeah, that's just it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Even in death, I still serve.
Come here, cretin. You want a piece of me? You want a piece? No! I want 2!
That brings an end to my turn 2. I once again forgot to do recon sweep because it's me and rules, but I am still holding 2 objectives, so I got an additional 10 points, bringing my score to 20. Let's see if Dave can catch up after that, and what havocs he can ruin upon my army.
So taking stock of where we are at the moment, I think now I really need to try and push a little bit against the executioners, because I've lost one of my kind of sledgehammer units and my berserkers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the defiler straight up the center, firing off as many shots as I can to try and cripple their lines, while my commander Atropos is going to bellow a challenge to the Gravis armor and show this new breed of Space Marine that the old ways really are the best. The Dreadnought is going to move up in support of him, firing off shots as it goes, either trying to whittle down the Eliminators or maybe wipe out the last few of the Assault Intercessors, while I'm going to send this squad over here into this table quarter on a recon mission to try and secure me some additional victory points for the end. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, my final unit will be able to arrive from outflank and start rapid firing off some shots into these Reavers to clear my back lines. So let's see how the dice go this turn. Will they be in my favour? Let's hope. So we're going to start off with the Dreadnought. So advancing full speed through the ruins and levelling his guns at the executioners. My commander charging full speed across, bellowing challenges at the upstart executioner lord across the way. And of course the clanking behemoth machine, the defiler, in close pursuit. Smoke billowing from its exhausts and fire flaming up from the end of the power scourge. Over here, this squad then, I'm going to, rather than having them in the fight, I'm going to advance this squad so they can really get moving.
Engaging the enemy.
With that extra 11 inches, to be able to secure the recon of this table quarter for me. And now, last but hopefully not least, roll for the last squad to come on. Unfortunately not, so I'm not going to be able to bring on my last squad of Space Marines until next turn. That could pose a problem. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Dreadnought, levelling its twin las cannon at the remaining Assault Intercessors. It's going to try and wipe them from existence. So, 2 shots firing, both finding their mark, and one of them managing to do a wound at -3 to the Intercessor's armor.
Oh, I fail my save.
That does 2 wounds, vaporizing another one.
Another brave Assault Intercessor destroyed.
We'll see what the missile launcher can do. So, crack missile finds its mark, does manage to wound at strength 8.
And I managed to save that one.
Alrighty. Okay, so now the Defiler levels both its cannons at the squad of Intercessors across the plaza. So we're going to start off with the battle cannon. So with a massive burst, fires out 4 shots this turn, which is definitely better than the last one. So hitting on 4s, so 3 hits, and wounding on 2s. So we've managed 2 wounds on the squad so far at -3 to their armor save.
Fail both.
And both of these do D3 damage apiece. So unfortunately only doing 2 wounds, but I think that should be enough to pop off one of them, because I think one was wounded
It
already.
does indeed. The wound will transfer to the next guy, and this guy will be removed.
Next we'll have the autocannon opening up, so 4 shots. So I missed the old days of twin linked, unfortunately. So 2 shots hit, and do actually manage to wound, so both wound at -1 to the armor save.
God bless power armor.
I need to get me some of this new Gravis armor. Okay, so now onto the charge phase. So start off with the commander trying to get to grips with the enemy commander. We're looking for another skull for his trophy rack.
For chaos!
So 8 inches as a charge. I think that should be enough for him to make it across. Quick check here.
Yeah!
It is indeed. So we're going to have 2 commanders squaring off against each other. But it has to be said, my commander doesn't exactly fight fair, and he's going to see if we can get the Defiler across the battlefield and to grips with the enemy. Ooh, unfortunately not. The Defiler is not going to make it into combat this turn, so it's going to be down to the boss to show things how they are done. So, my lord has made it into combat, so now he gets to really play with his new toys.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
So I've equipped this guy with the Murder Sword, so a demon-infested weapon that picks out an enemy character as its prey for the battle. So obviously, given there's only one character in Andy's army, I can say that he's going to try and put the enemy character and devour his soul with a demon-infested blade. So any successful hits from this weapon, rather than me needing to roll to wound, are automatic wounds inflicted as mortal wounds onto the enemy captain. And thankfully, my character has 4 attacks. So let's see what he can do. So hitting on 2s, that's what we like to see. That is 4 mortal wounds straight away inflicted on the Gravis captain. And then, as part of the coup de grace, he lashes out with his lightning claw, hitting him, but unfortunately not doing any damage to him. So only manages to inflict 4 wounds on the Gravis captain.
Only. He says only. Jeez. So Belisarius' call makes Marines sterner than this Iron Warrior is used to, and he does actually manage to weather the demon attacks, and now he's going to strike back. So his Power Fists, 4 of them in fact hit, at strength 8, I believe it's still 2s to wound you.
Take no prisoners!
3 wounds, -3 to your save.
Yep, so we're going to be having a 5-up save in this case.
And unfortunately, due to the fact that the Eliminators did some stellar sniper work earlier in the turn, that means that the Chaos Lord has in fact fallen to the fist of the Executioner.
Okay, so end of that turn, we've managed to hold the objectives for the moment. Unfortunately, have lost my commander and haven't been able to bring on my reinforcements, so things are looking a little bit dicey at the moment. But this squad over here has managed to secure this sector for me, so assuming I'm able to keep that squad alive and keep moving them around, I might be able to secure another further quarter for the future of the battlefield, and hopefully by the end of the turn and the end of the game, those few victory points might be able to help me cinch the win. So let's see what the next turn brings.
So currently you did in fact secure 15 victory points that turn. You've now secured 2 table quarters.
Yes, so now I'm actually ahead.
So you're actually ahead on points even after losing your commander. So
Let's see how long that lasts for.
Okay, so we're going into my turn 3. I've had quite a successful his turn 2 after destroying his lord, who decided to try and charge in and take on my lord. Did not end well. From the teeth of terror did decapitate him, so I was quite pleased with that result, making me in a strong position going into turn 3. Still terrified of the Defiler. I haven't put a single dent in that thing yet, and there's not a lot in my arsenal that can put a dent in it, but we're going to see what we can do. So we're going to move some troopers up, get into some like rapid fire ranges and stuff. So these intercessors here are going to move over and try and deal with the guys who are trying to scout out the quarter. The Redemptor Dreadnought is once again going to loop around the building and to as also add his weight of fire to the intercessors. And the Reavers back over here on this side of the table
To the battle warriors
are going to not only move, but they're going to move and run.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be
Well, that didn't help as much as I wanted it to. Don't think they're going to be able to grab that objective, but we will measure it out afterwards. And then I'm going to bring in my reserves. I don't need to roll for this anymore. I only need to roll for turns 1 and 2. So I'm bringing my second impulsor, which has 5 assault intercessors in it as well. And then I'm going to drop in my suppressors. Now, where to drop them in is a whole other kettle of fish. I think once again I'm going to try and add more firepower to dealing with these Marines. So these Suppressors will drop down. I don't think I've ever seen these guys on a battlefield before, so I'm super excited to open fire and see what kind of damage they can do. The captain knows he needs to make almost the ultimate sacrifice to protect his soldiers, so he's actually going to try and take on the Defiler all by himself.
For the Emperor! Charge!
Okay, so we're going to start off the shooting in this phase with the Suppressor Squad. Choosing these guys because I've never seen them fire in a game before, and I'm really excited to see what they can do to these Marines. So, 3 shots apiece with their autocannons. I think Belisarius Call needs to tweak his targeting training because my Marines haven't done that well in that department in this game. The autocannons are strength 7, so requiring 3s to wound. 2 wounds caused, -1 to the powered armored chaos Marines.
Bolt gun!
The armor can hold.
They do not care.
We are all good.
So we're going to move over to the squad of intercessors right next to them. And they are going to rapid fire. Trust in Dorn. Oh my word. These dice may go into an inferno at the end of the game. And 4s to wound. 2 wounds. No minus on the Chaos Marines.
So one guy does go down.
Delightful. And now the Redemptor Dreadnought is the last thing that's going to open fire on the guys. So first we're going to fire the first of its Gatling cannons. 5 misses. All 5 of those were 1s. That's not a good sign. And then 3s to wound. So we do 6 wounds, -1 to those Marines.
Okay. Numbers are getting thin now, but 2 more go down, so I still have 3 remaining. Yeah, 3 Marines remaining.
And then, of course, the second Gatling cannon, a little bit lighter than the first one, but still just as deadly to Marines. This time only 1 miss. 7 find their mark, and can these 7 do some damage, requiring 3s? So 4 more wounds, -1 onto those Chaos Marines.
I had to open my mouth, didn't I?
Yes. There you go, 3 more dead. Brings a crashing end to that squad. And that is another flank confirmed, secured by the Marines. I'll take it. The Impulsor is going to fire off one of its rockets from the Bellicatus missile array. He's going to choose to fire off the crack round. So let's see if he can find its mark. He does indeed manage to hit. He is strength 8. The Defiler is toughness 7, so 3s to wound, and of course a glorious 1. The last thing I'm going to do is fire off these Eliminators. And they are going to fire off a round of ammunition that I'm not sure yet. Perhaps could have picked that before we did this. So yeah, let's go for the Mortis rounds again, and we're going to fire them at that Dreadnought, or the Hellbrute, apologies. 2s to hit. And that kind of says it all for how my shooting has been in this game so far. Snipers, huh?
Emotional damage!
For the crazy gambit, the Captain Balak is going to make a charge into the Defiler to see if he can make a difference. Let's see. Well, with a 6, that will indeed make his charge successful. Now, whether the position of this miniature's giant flaming flail is a precursor to what's about to happen, there's only one way to find out. Stay tuned.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Okay, the crackling power across his power fist and the whirling teeth of the Teeth of Terra are being brought to bear against the Defiler. So we're going to start with power fist. So requiring 2s to hit.
I shall not fail!
4 hits finding their mark. That's what I like to hear. Strength 8 against the Defiler's toughness of 7 means it's 3s. That is also what I like to see. Shooting, these guys aren't so good. Melee, they're pretty good. So it's going to be -3 and 2 damage apiece.
Okay, so -3 is going to bring his 3 up save to a
6 up.
6 up saves.
Does not compute. Does not compute. Does not compute.
All 3 of them go, all 4 of them go through, so that is 8 damage straight to the monstrous demon engine.
Oh, and then the Teeth of Terror will whirl in with the 3 attacks, hitting twice, and I think they require 5s with this. So 1 goes through, does -2,
which it does manage to save.
And that brings it. So 8 wounds from him onto the Defiler. I will take that as a success.
You know Defiler's got 14 wounds, right?
Emotional, damn it!
Okay. Of course, Defiler can't let those blows go without an answering, so rises on its hind legs and slams down with both its claws. So because he's taken a couple of wounds now, his profile is slightly reduced, so he's only got 2 attacks, but 2 of them do manage to hit. And because of the mighty strength of the machine, a mighty 16, he's going to wound on 2s and are at -3 to his armor save.
Oh, brings me to a 6-up save for my Gravis, which are both failed.
These each do d6 damage apiece, a grand total of 9 wounds.
So you've done 9 wounds. I have 3 wounds left. Let me just do the math here. So turn 3 ends on a bitter, sweet note. We've managed to clear off most of the remaining Chaos Forces on the table. The Defiler, the Hellbrute are still in play, and there are some more Chaos Reserves on the way, which is kind of worrying me as to what they plan to do with those. But Captain Balok did make his glorious charge into Defiler, smack 8 wounds off him, but it did unfortunately cost him his life. So we'll see if Dave can capitalize that on his next turn, but all to play for.
Chaos turn 3. So finally the last of my reserves are going to come onto the board, and I feel like I'm going to need them because I've only got 2 models left on the board.
Yes.
Granted, one of them's a Defiler and one of them's a Dreadnought, but still.
It's 2 very nice miniatures left on the table. I mean, look at those things. Quite the pair.
But unfortunately I do feel like I need some more bodies on the ground to start reclaiming some of my losses. So the strategy here is going to be to re-secure my back lines, try and get rid of the Reavers that we have here. I'm going to send that Dreadnought straight into the teeth of the enemy guns to try and contest that objective. If I can manage to kill those 2 remaining intercessors and claim that, that'll be an extra couple of victory points for myself, which would be nice. And this Defiler is going to go hunting, so he's going to go after the squad of intercessors over here and try and get rid of those during this turn. And then it's a case as to how much damage I can do with the reinforcements when they come on. Hopefully I'll be able to at least tie up the Reavers if nothing else, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Dreadnought advancing towards the objective to contest it, so I'm making a straight beeline for the objective, and of course I need to bring those guns to bear at close range. On the other side of things, the Defiler clanks its way over the terrain, gets ready to unload fire into this squad and charge in to try and finish off the job. And then over here, the Rhino is swerved on, bashing through the barricades that the Imperials have set up to try and hold them back, and has disgorged a full squad of Chaos Space Marines ready to unleash hell on the Reavers in the back lines. So hopefully this will allow me to secure this objective and stop it from falling into Imperial hands. So starting off with the Hellbrute, so firing 2 of his las cannon shots at close range. The last 2 remaining warriors there. One of the shots finds their mark, does manage to wound, going, I would love to say straight through the armor, but unfortunately this Primaris armor seems to be made of sterner stuff.
Still cuts straight through and drops the remaining guy. Just the sergeant left to stand tall and proud against the Hellbrute.
Let's see, does the missile manage to smash it in the face? It does hit. Fortunately, it doesn't wound, so I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, kicking him in the face. Okay, so now onto the Defiler. So time to put all those various big guns to their best use. So we're going to start off with the autocannons. So I'm going to fire those into the eliminators that are still hunkered down in the ruins. So 4 shots, 3 of which find their mark. Those camel cloaks aren't going to keep you hidden from me, boys.
I sense danger.
All 3 of them manage to wound them at -1 to their save.
Take some saves. And one of them, in fact, takes a wound because the iron wires also ignore cover.
Okay, so now the battle cannon unleashing a volley of shells into the impulsor. So fires 3 shots this time, and only manages to hit with 1 of them, unfortunately. But Let's see if it manages to crack through its armor. Well, that's pretty definitive, isn't it? Good to know.
Dice.
Yeah, good to know Dave Dice is still a thing, right? And now it's on to the Delta Squad that has just burst through the lines and just arrived in, hopefully in the nick of time, to remove this thorn from the back of my lines. So we're going to start off by opening up with their bolt gun shots. So at close range, rapid firing in, we're going to be unleashing a storm of 18 bolt rounds. Dave Dice, again, it would seem, is still a thing. So unfortunately there's a lot of misses there. And rolling to wound, obviously we're going to need 4s to try and crack through that armor. And again, more Dave Dice, only managed a grand total of 5 wounds.
I'm going to touch your chaotic dice with my hands to roll these saves. And I do in fact manage to fail 2, which will bring one of the Reavers crashing out of the fight.
And then to follow up, hopefully with something a little bit more heavy weighted, we've got 2 melta-guns firing from the squad to hopefully vaporize 2 more of them. That's a little bit better. One of them actually does manage to hit, and on a 2, that should be enough to...
You serious?
Okay, so onto the assault phase. So we'll start off with the Hellbrute, charging full speed towards that last brave Imperial Sergeant. He makes it in, of course, handily. And now, the big exciting one, let's see what the Defiler can do. Yeah.
Why are you the way that you are?
Okay, so unfortunately because my Hellbrute is armed with 2 missile weapons, all I can do is use its sheer bulk to try and squash the impudent executioner in front of him. So on the charge he has a grand total of 5 attacks. So hitting on 3s, unfortunately only managed to hit twice, but he should be wounding on 3s as well because of his strength. Only 1 wound, it's not going to be enough to squash this impudent chaos
I do roll a 1, and since he took a wound earlier in the battle, he is in fact killed.
I will take it, along with that objective.
Mine!
Right. It's looking a bit dicey. Not gonna lie, we've managed to kill off a chunk of the Imperial forces and we've started pushing them back a little bit. I've still held on to my objectives and have now actually managed to claim back one of Andy's ones, so I get an extra 5 victory points on top for that one as well. So that's going to bring my grand total victory points this turn to 15. So now it's going to be down to my reinforcements here to try and get rid of that Reaver squad, and hopefully the Defiler will be able to throw its weight around a little bit and tie up this corner of the battlefield to allow me to survive the last few turns. But it is looking a bit rocky for the forces of Petro.
So I believe that in the last turn and this turn you've secured 5 more victory points than myself, so I think it's it's like 30 to 45 or something. I think you're about 10 victory points ahead so far, so I need to be careful with that one.
Yeah.
I'm pounding at the end of Dave's last turn, so I'm going to have to make the remainder of my force do some real work to try and hold back the Defiler and the Hellbrute. How I plan on retaking any of the objectives I have lost to be able to regain more points, I have no idea, but let's see what we can do. Let's get our models moved around the table a little bit better. So we are going to start with the Impulsor here. That is going to move into a slightly better position, and it is going to disgorge the last unit that has not seen play in my table, which will be another squad of 5 Assault Intercessors. Will disembark. Not really sure what their plan is just yet, so I will fan them out in case I want to go for the Defiler or the Hellbrute. The Intercessors over here are going to basically reform a line, knowing that a Defiler is stomping their way towards them, and they need to form some sort of defensive line, backed up by the Suppressors and the Redemptor Dreadnought, forming a nice wall as is customary with the Imperial Fists. As for the rest, the only thing left on the table is my Eliminators, so they will stay up here and continue to pot shots down at the enemy. Pray for me. I've also moved the Reavers in their back line up to potentially charge the squad of Marines. Whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, I'm sure we will find out in due course. So, as is apparently tradition with this game, I'm going to start the shooting phase off with my Eliminator squad. Once again, firing the mortis rounds. And we will try and pink off a couple of wounds off of the Hellbrute. They've been kind of unsuccessful at doing this so far in the game, but we're going to do it anyway. All of their shots managed to find their mark. They're strength 5, so they're going to wound the Hellbrute on 5s. If I add all of those together, that counts as 1. Are you good with that?
Yeah, that sounds like nope.
Emotional, damn it!
Going for 5 heavy bolt pistols, also into the Hellbrute. This may be like shooting a BB gun or a tank, but we'll see what happens anyway. This, and then I think it's 5s to wound. Like if I add all of those together, that counts as a wound. Are you okay with that?
Deja vu?
Yeah.
Deja vu, I just been in this place before.
I'm going to finish it off with the Impulsor firing its crack missile off at the Hellbrute. It does manages to find its mark. It does manages to wound.
Does it manages to save? It does not. Goes straight through. How much damage does it do?
I don't know. What is it in? It is a normal crack, so it's D6 damage. Boom! I'll take 3.
3 wounds are pretty good.
Moving on to the accelerator autocannons on the suppressors, trying to take some more wounds off the defiler. I will definitely take that as a source of hits. And with them being strength 7, I think it's forced to wound you.
Indeed.
Boom! I do actually manage to score 5 wounds on the defiler.
Alrighty, so what minus to my armor save?
1.
Okay, so 4 up armor saves. Let's see what this can do.
I never mind.
I'll take that. 1 wound suffered. The defiler goes back down to having taken 8 wounds.
So now I'm going to move over to the Redemptor Dreadnought. That is also going to open fire on the defiler. I'm going to fire my Onslaught and Heavy Onslaught Gatling cannons together because against this target it would be exactly the same profile. So, 3s to hit. Get rid of all of these 1s and 2s. Just like I'm going to get rid of these dice after this game. They're going to require 5s to wound. 4 wounds, minus 1 to your defiler's armor.
Let's see if we can shrug these ones off as well. No, it does take 2 more wounds, so the defiler is now belching steam with only 4 wounds remaining.
Okay, so we're going to fire off the Reaver's remaining shots. So the 2 of them carrying carbines and 2 of them carrying heavy bolt pistols. So with the carbines, all hits, 1 wound, and that'll be normal save. And then 2 heavy bolt pistols, both hit, 1 wound, but that'll be minus 1 to the armor. So 1 with minus 1 and 1 standard save.
Standard save, minus 1. Yeah, I kind of should have done that the other way around. So 1 guy, unfortunately, is taken down.
Okay, onto my charge phase. I'm going to try and retake this objective from the defiler, or from the Hellbrute, apologies. So unfortunately these guys are going to have to charge in and see what they can do. So I do manage to get a whopper 11-inch charge, which will bring this squad with Sergeant with Power Fist as a tradition. So maybe he'll be able to do some damage. Hope to try and take back at this objective so I don't fall so far behind with the victory points. The only other charges that I have at the moment is the Reavers, which are going to jump into the fight over here with a glorious roll. Means they are absolutely making it in. Whether 4 Reavers can take on 9 Chaos Space Marines, I doubt, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to start with the Assault Intercessors trying to take down the Hellbrute. We're going to start with the guys that have kind of lesser attacks, so the Astartes Chainswords. So 3s to hit, and Astartes Chainswords are indeed strength 4, so that'll be 5s to hurt the... That's what I like to see. Why is it in combat these guys are beasts? I suppose their old chapter master being Rand kind of makes sense. So that is 6 saves at minus 1 on the Hellbrute.
Let's see if we can keep it going in the fight. So 3 do manage to sneak through, so it's taken a grand total of 6 wounds so far.
And last but by no means least, the Power Fist on the Sergeant. What can he do? He do bad. 2 misses and 1 hit, and with that hit he manages to do a wound, and I'm not really sure the minus 3
Parafist.
-3, what's it? I can't remember what a parafist is these days. We'll come back to you. So that wound will do -3 and do 2 damage if he manages to fail it.
Let's see what happens.
Never mind.
Chaos approves.
Disappointed!
And the Reavers take out their monstrous combat knives and go to work on their lesser cousins. This many hits. First wound. Exactly average. 4 wounds suffered on the Chaos Marines.
Let's see how they hold up.
They lose 1.
So what was that about? Lesser cousins?
Emotional, damn it!
Okay, so now it's the time of their lesser cousins to show them what true Space Marines are made of. None of this new, modern, fancy stuff. So, drawing their combat knives, they may not be as big, but they certainly get the job done. So hitting on 3s. That's not too bad. And wounding on 4s. They manage a grand total of 2 wounds on the Reavers.
I'm not sure what kind of job you think they get done, but it's not that. Because the Reavers take absolutely no damage from your toothpicks.
Right.
You call that a knife? This is a knife.
That's not a knife, that's a spoon.
Well then, let's see what the sergeant with his power fist can do. So, because he's swinging this big massive fist, he's at -1 to hit, so he's going to be hitting on 4s. Still manages to land 2 blows, and only manages to wound once.
I think the Reaver cares.
I think the Reaver might care about that one, alright, Jack. So 1 more Reaver clubbed down by the sergeant Parafist.
Damn.
Onto the Hellbrute returning his returning attacks. So again, lashing out with his big stomping feet and throwing the sheer weight of his sarcophagus around. Manages to hit the intercessors 4 times. And manages to wound them twice.
I fail another save, and I don't think I had a save on them, did I?
No, that's the first time they take a wound. That was their first action.
1 wound taken on assault. So the end of my turn 4 saw paint chipping off horrid war machines, and that's about it. I did very little damage to the Defiler. I did even less damage to the Hellbrute. It's worrying. My Reavers went in, blaze, swinging. I managed to drop a single Chaos Space Marine. I didn't get to reclaim any of my objectives. So at the end of this turn, I'm holding 1 objective, which is securing me 5 points. That's it. So I'm falling further and further behind the Chaos Menace. So it turns out Dave has educated me on how objective secured works at the moment, and because I have more Marines on the objective, I do in fact take it back off of the Hellbrute, which in fact secures me 10 victory points, not 5. I'm still behind this game by 10 victory points so far, so not sure how much that will help, but it made me feel a little better.
Okay, so Chaos turn 5. Sorry, no, Chaos turn 4. Chaos is fickle, but it's not that fickle. So, we're going to push the advantage now here and try and pin the Executioners back so that I don't lose any more objectives and I can potentially secure a few more. So the Defiler regains another lost wound, so goes back up to having only taken 7 wounds. So it's going to clank its way closer to the enemy lines, firing everything it has off at the Dreadnought in the back lines, because I see that as the biggest threat right about now. And it's also hopefully going to try and secure that table quarter for me. So that will bring my total table quarter secured to 3. Whereas over here, I've got the Dreadnought in combat. So what I'm going to hopefully do with the shooting is be able to blast at close quarters the last few of the assault intercessors away. And while he's there, he'll try and secure this quarter, which would allow me to have reconned all 4 quarters. And if I manage to do that, it'll bring me to a bonus 45 victory points, which might be able to cinch me the win in this. So, not sure the cameraman approves, but maybe he's biased, I'm not sure. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so to start off, the fighter is going to advance a little bit closer while making sure he stays in that table quarter so that he can hold that objective. Over there, we can't really go any much further because we're currently broiled in combat with the executioners. And then whoop, over on this side, we're also going to have to stand our ground and hopefully be able to drive back the Reavers. So let's see how all this goes. We'll move straight on to the shooting phase. Okay, so starting off with the Dreadnought, it'll start off with its las cannon of shots at point blank range into the assault intercessors. Both of them find their mark this time. Both of them manage to wound.
Is that -4 or 3?
-3.
6 up saves, which I fail both.
So each of these are d6 damage apiece. That is 2 of them vaporized, thankfully.
Take away these 2 glorious brave Marines who've just been destroyed.
And then one last crack missile. Try and get rid of one more. Hits and wounds. Oof.
On a passed save. We got this.
So now, time for the fighter to unleash all barrels. So we'll start off with the battle cannon zeroing in on the Redemptor Dreadnought. So firing a grand total of 3 shots this time. So hitting on 4s. All 3 shots find their mark. And 2 of the shots manage to damage the machine at -3 to its armor save.
I pass 1 save and fail 1 save.
This does d6 damage when it cracks through, so 3 wounds.
3 wounds taken on the Redemptor.
And then the 4 autocannon shots from its autocannon arm. Unfortunately, only 2 managed to find their mark. And neither of them managed to wound it. Both shots ricocheting off the thick sarcophagus's armor. And then over to this roiling combat, so we have the Iron Warriors fighting for their lives against the Reavers. They all draw their bolt pistols and attempt to fire off some close range shots to buy themselves some breathing space. It's a little bit better than last turn, so only managed to miss with 2 of the shots. But unfortunately, only 2 of the shots managed to find their mark in the melee.
They did their job and caused a wound on 1 or more Reaver.
I'll take it. So now onto the assault phase. So the fighter this time rolls much higher, so a glorious 9-inch charge. Not that he needs to go very far to get to grips with them. And smashes into the front line of intercessors. No other charges to get into, everyone else is already embroiled in combat. So now it comes down to this. Let's see what we can do when we get down to it. So starting off with the Defiler, it again rears back with its huge crab-like claws and smashes down geysers of earth erupting around him. Let's see if we can add some body parts to those geysers. So, unfortunately 2 of the attacks managed to miss, but 2 of them do find their mark. And they do manage to wound 1 of the Marines.
I rolled a 5. I don't know what your minus is.
Unfortunately, it's going to be higher than that, so the claw do go straight snips through the armor.
No.
But only does 1 wound, so it doesn't actually even manage to wipe out 1 of them.
I believe one of these guys did take a wound earlier on, but I stole the dice to roll all of those Gatling shots. So you do in fact take a Marine down.
Of course, now I get to actually use the Defiler's Scourge, which again is the first time I've actually got to use this model in anger. So the huge wrecking ball swings out and actually manages to hit twice. And because this is adding an extra 6 to its strength, it comes in more than enough to wound on 2s. And it's at -2 to the armor save of the Marines.
Pass 1 and fail 1.
Unfortunately, because this does 2 damage, it does pulp 1 of the Marines straight out.
Another Marine brought down.
So now we'll see if the Dreadnought can get rid of the last few of those assault intercessors. So again, lashing out, it hits 4 times. Well, only manages 3 hits, unfortunately. But does manage to wound twice. So maybe that'll squash another one.
No.
No, I had to speak too soon, didn't I?
Yeah, as usual. So my assault intercessors in this fight is swinging back. So the 2 Marines with the Astartes chainsword swing first. Can they wound this thing on 5s? They do manage to cause a wound at -1.
Which it doesn't manage to pass. It is down to 1 wound remaining.
I'll take that, and then the glorious power fist on the sergeant striking last with 2 hits, causing a single wound.
No, No, unfortunately not, and that does take the Dreadnought down.
Never mess with an Imperial fist wielding a power fist. Ever.
Okay, so the second round of combat, unfortunately my guys lose an attack. So this time I'm only getting to swing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attacks with my Marines. But again, hitting on 3s and wounding on 4s. That's not too bad. So 2 more wounds on the Reavers. Never mind. And the Power Fist from the Sergeant swinging out. 2 hits. Both wounding.
Oh no. 6 is the save. 1 saved, 1 failed.
That does do 2 wounds, so that does pulp another Reaver.
Dead. My 2 remaining Reavers laying into the Marines, hitting with all 6 of their attacks. That's what I like to see. And wounding with 4 of them. I have a good feeling about this. Dave's going to get some Dave dice, and I'm going to drop like 3 Chaos Space Marines. I'll take 2. 2 Chaos Space Marines die.
You had to say it, didn't you?
Yeah.
You had to say it.
And I know it may be hard to see, but I do actually have 2 Marines left underneath the bulk of that Defiler, which are going to swing out with anger. One is a standard Marine with 1 attack who fails. The other one is the Sergeant with a Power Fist. So let's see what he can do. He hits twice. He'll be strength 8 against the Defiler, which is toughness 7. He manages no wounds.
I'll take it.
You would.
Okay, so end of the turn didn't all go quite as planned. Unfortunately, I did lose the Dreadnought on the objective. So Andy has secured that objective quite comfortably, and I haven't been able to secure and recon that table quarter. However, the Defiler more than did his job. He's reduced that squad down to 2 lone Space Marines, and I have managed to scout that 3rd table quarter. So now it comes down to this. Turn 5, just need to dig in and hold on to what I've won. Ahead, just about, and hopefully I'll be able to stay ahead going into the final turn of the game.
Okay, moving on to turn 5, the final turn of the game. Doing quick mental arithmetic, which is never my strong suit, or never word that should be uttered out of my mouth. I don't believe that I can capture enough victory points to claim victory in this game, so I'm going to go for spite. So I'm going to dedicate everything I have left to taking down the Defiler, Dave's favourite miniature in the game, just to say that he didn't survive. So that is my goal moving forward, and let's see if I can pull it off. Starting with the movement phase, the Impulsor will swing around into the rear of the Defiler. The Assault Intercessors are going to rush off the objective, potentially charge into the back. The Repressors are going to fly around, although I don't believe they'll be able to open fire now that I realize that I'm still locked in combat. So these guys are actually going to fall back out of combat.
Lapdogs of the false emperor!
Strategically redeploying, excuse you, we don't run. That just gives the rest of my army the opportunity to open fire before they charge in. So that will bring my movement phase to an end. So started every other turn with it in this battle report, I might as well start the final turn one as well. So Eliminators firing the Mortis rounds, mainly because I love saying the word Mortis, at the side of the Defiler. So 2s to hit, all 3 finding their mark. These are strength 5, so they're going to require 5s to do some damage. 2 of them do manage to go through. They do -2 damage apiece. So let's see what happens with this.
3 up, 4 up, 5 up armor saves.
Failed both, you take 4 wounds from that.
Alright, so that means I have only got 3 wounds now remaining.
Good snipers. Okay, so now I'm going to go War Machine on War Machine, and the Gatling cannons on the Redemptor are going to open fire. I'm going to do the same thing I did last turn. I'm going to fire both the heavy and the normal at the same time because basically they have the same profiles against the Defiler. That is so many 1s and 2s. That is not what I wanted to see. Wowza. That was another one. And I require 5s to do any damage. It's a little bit better with 4 wounds at -1 to the Defiler's save.
So to keep my machine in the fight, I need to pass at least 3 of these.
Never rule out the Dreadnought. So I've succeeded in my personal vendetta this turn, and I've removed the Defiler from the table with no less than my Redemptor Dreadnought, which makes me incredibly happy. The only other bit of conflict that we have at the moment is the Reavers. My Reavers did indeed swing with their combat blades at the Chaos Marines and did nada. So that brings my turn 5, and my turn for the end of the game is done. Moves over to Dave to see what damage he can do with his last turn before being smug and gloating that he has won the game.
So, a moment of grim silence for the Defiler. Right, that's enough of that. So, the end of the game beckons, and essentially it comes down to this last turn of the dice. The final squad here, their mission is to wipe out the remaining 2 Reavers and then re-embark onto the Rhino to depart the battlefield with all the information they have gleaned about the Imperial forces and report back to the Warpsmith. It's going to be slightly dicey, but I'm hoping the sheer weight of numbers will manage to finally take down these last upstart Space Marines. Start off with the pistols, again drawn to try and dispatch them, executing the last 2 Space Marines, hopefully ending this battle. So, not a bad roll. They've obviously decided they've had enough of these new breed of Space Marines. Unfortunately, only managed to mount twice.
Let me try and take some of these saves, which I passed both of.
Okay, comes down to the contest of blades once more. Okay, so let's see what we can do in combat. So they draw their blades and make ready to finish off their foes. So we've managed to hit with a fair few of the attacks, actually. And that's a bit better. We've managed to do 4 wounds to the Reavers, which is then followed up by the Sergeant stepping forward, smashing out once with his power fist and managing to hit, and does in fact manage to wound. If that goes through, we'll dispatch a Marine.
So that's 1 Marine has been killed by the power fist. And all I need to do is not fail 2 of these saves in order to be okay. Unfortunately, I have lost a wound, and I believe he had taken a wound, so therefore that is the last Reaver has been destroyed, removed from the battlefield.
As a result, the remaining Iron Warriors reboard the transport, about face, and depart, sure in the knowledge that they have achieved the objectives their Warsmith sent them out to achieve.
Okay guys, so that brings an end to the second battle report on the channel. Me, the Space Marines, commanding the Executioner Force, thought I was doing quite well through the first couple of turns of the game, but I believe that I was outsmarted by the Iron Warriors player, played by Mr. Chin here, which left me with, unfortunately, a solid loss. It ended with me with 50 victory points and Dave with 75. So what that means for the campaign moving forward, time will tell. Thank you guys so much for watching the battle report. I hope you've enjoyed the first 2 in this series. Make sure you show some love in the chat below for the man who has edited these videos, which is of course Dave, who has spent countless hours doing it. Not he's mentioned that at all or anything like that. I just want to thank the very kind companies that sent us basically the playing surface that we're using today. So the mat was provided to us by Deep Cut Studios. Thank you very much, Deep Cut Studios, for sending out this glorious mat. We love it very much here at the studio. And thank you very much to Urban Mats, who sent us out this lovely set of ruined buildings for us to use in our battle report. So thank you very much to those 2 companies for helping us and supporting the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next battle report.
See you later.